Welcome to Dementia Friendly Prince George's County, Maryland Northern Sector webinar series for caregivers. Today's topic is 3 Key Steps in Empowered Dementia Care by Debra James. Sponsored by Prince George's County Government and the Department of Family Services.
Dementia is certain things and dementia isn't certain things. It's an umbrella term, and it includes Alzheimer's disease, Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's dementia. It's just a umbrella term. Excuse me. Alzheimer's disease is probably the most publicized, sure, but it is not the most frequent one that occurs. The most frequent type of dementia that occurs actually is vascular dementia. And that's as a result of cardiovascular disease. So if someone has high blood pressure, if they have heart disease, anything like that, that is going to affect blood vessels, and it's going to affect the blood vessels that go to your brain. Therefore, it will affect how much nutrition your brain is getting. So Lewy body dementia is specific type of plaque that affects the brain neurons. So you'll typically see it between 50 or older. But the other component with it is that you are also dealing with some very unpredictable behavior, let's put it that way. So, for example, I had a patient who, he's a home care patient. He was having issues with dementia. I understood the family's situation, we can't afford to put him anywhere, et cetera, et cetera. But he at times was literally trying to kill his wife. He had attacked her with various instruments. She finally decided to put all of the knives under her mattress so that he would not have access to them. The day before I went to visit them one day, he had actually pushed a bookcase over on her. So yeah, it's a problem, and it's very unpredictable. But you're finding a lot more cases of this now. Vascular dementia is the most common form, as I said. You'll typically see it over age 65, but it can happen younger. And again, that's the brain just not getting the blood flow that it needs, and parts of the brain just slowly die off. Frontal temporal dementia is another type of dementia, and that's similar. It's very similar to Lewy body dementia, but it has a different effect. Lewy body dementia is more intense than frontal temporal dementia, but it's the same type of thing. You have emotional difficulties, cognitive issues, shaky hands, problems with balance, language difficulties. So, and that typical range is between the ages of 45 and 64. So the second step is you want to identify safety needs. You might think that putting a tracker on someone in your family is a bad idea, but it really isn't. Um, it's something that we did. We did it with my mother, even though she literally was not going to leave the house because she hated to walk. So we didn't have any concerns about that. However, we did have concerns with her at home and the fact that she didn't want to use her walker. And there would be times at night we would hear her stumbling and bumbling in the hallway upstairs because her bedroom was upstairs. So safety is so important. It's so critical. You don't want to have a situation where your loved one ends up falling. Falling is very bad, very, very bad. It's something that when it happens, it can be an emergency situation. The things you have to worry about at home are tripping issues. So if you have rugs, throw rugs, that can be an issue. If you have um, if you have pets, that can be an issue because your pets are independent and they may get in the way. Um, Here are the top 5 must-have safety devices. Motion activated lights, they prevent falls and provide guidance in dark spaces. And I'm telling you, we had a nightlight in my mother's bedroom. We had a nightlight in the bathroom, and the nightlight in the hallway was a motion sensor. And there were plenty of times where I heard something happen and ran upstairs. She would usually not be on the floor at that point, but a concern because, again, she didn't want to use her walker. Shortly after she came to move with us, she actually fell and broke her hip. And falling is the older people get, the more serious a fall is. And it's serious because they don't heal as well. And you add to some of the other issues going on with the elderly, such as um, dehydration, um, muscle weakness, all those types of things. It's when they fall, um, it's not always possible that they're going to come back home from the hospital. They may end up having to go to a nursing facility of some sort. Okay, door alarms and GPS trackers. If you don't want to bother with a GPS tracker, I get that. I understand. But definitely have door alarms because you need to know if that door opens up in the middle of the night, you need to know if it's somebody coming in or somebody trying to go out. The other thing you can do that I've seen is you can have a slide lock, but put it at the top of the door so that your loved one cannot get to it and they likely won't see it. So that's another possibility. You have to be careful because you cannot restrain your loved one as much as that might help. Um, Automatic shut-off devices. I have seen these, but I have not seen them in a working situation. But if the stove is left unattended for a certain amount of time, it cuts off. There's a cutoff valve that goes into place, and you can set the time for however long you want. Um, Cooking is something that needs to be monitored because things can happen that you don't expect. Uh, One day when we were visiting my parents, my father actually wanted to heat up a plate of food. So he took it out of the refrigerator, unwrapped it, turned on the stove, and put it on the burner. Luckily, I was standing right there. And, I didn't want him to feel bad. So I just said, oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Let's put this in the microwave because it'll be quicker. And he was like, okay. Thankfully, the plate that he put on the stove was Pyrex, so that was a good thing. But so things like that, um, you might need to have some electricity shutoffs if your loved one has a tendency to enjoy various devices that need electric. You may need to get something to handle that. Grab bars and non-slip mats. They are a lifesaver. They are a lifesaver. We did not have to put grab bars in the bathroom because they were already there. But what we did have to do was get a chair, a bath chair. And that was very important because my mother could not stand up for long periods. And after her hip surgery, she really couldn't get in the bathtub. So she had to use our standing shower. But we put the chair in there and it was wonderful. She did well. She would let us know when she was ready to get out of the shower. So that worked perfectly. Clear labels and picture-based signs. So how many of you have gone to the refrigerator and seen something in a bowl and wondered, what the heck is that? I have. And sometimes it's something that I put in the refrigerator. But so when you're dealing with someone with dementia, they may not recognize something that's obvious to someone else. So they may think that whatever's in the refrigerator is, a cat. Who knows? But they don't recognize it as food. So it helps if you have clear containers and you put a label on them or you put a picture of whatever the food is that's in it. Pictures are usually good for people with dementia. They can recognize that more so than they can recognize words written out. So you can also put it on doors, like so that they know where the bathroom is. You can put it on pieces of furniture that maybe you don't want them to use because it would be difficult for them to get up. But just be aware that when someone is experiencing dementia, words don't always make sense. So it helps to put labels or pictures and signs on the door. That's them, especially when you're letting them know. You want to make sure that they know where their room is so that they can feel comfortable there. Okay. Here's a quick fix. Walk through the house. Walk through the apartment. And just view it from the perspective of someone that has dementia. So what you're going to do is remove the clutter, secure loose rugs, install motion sensor lights again, put cleaning supplies and medications behind locked doors. My mother had a lot of medications, and we actually had a toolbox that we could lock that we kept our medications in. And we had a medication dispenser that alarmed when it was time for her to take her medicine so that we could track and make sure that she was taking it like she was supposed to. Uh, what you don't want to do is leave things on the floor, shoes, small furniture, um, books, papers, because those are very good places for someone to trip. Um, if you assume that something is safe for you, don't assume that it's safe for them. So you might have no problem handling an ironing board and an iron. And I don't know too many people who still iron, but my parents did. You want to make sure that you are monitoring them when they are ironing because they could leave the iron down on the clothes or on the board and it could catch fire. They could trip over the cord or they could even burn themselves. So you want to make sure that you're proctoring that. Preventing burnout. Step number 3. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase in some shape or form, you can't pour from an empty cup or you can't pour from an empty container. And that's very true. Um, Burnout happens gradually, it builds. And if you are the primary caregiver for someone with dementia, and you don't take care of yourself and you end up getting sick and you go down, who's going to be left to take care of your loved one? That's one of the biggest reasons why we want to make sure that we are well, that we are taking care of ourselves. So you can see emotional signs of burnout and physical signs of burnout. What many people ask me is they come to me and they say, Deb, I don't have time to take care of myself. I'm juggling my caregiver duties, my kids, my job. I don't have time to take care of myself. And I will ask them, do you have time? Do you have 5 minutes in a day, just 5 minutes, where you can just do nothing? And most people say, well, yeah. No. Do you have 5 minutes in one day, in 24 hours, that's just for you? That can be just for you. And usually they'll say, well, yeah, I could find 5 minutes. And I said, okay, in those 5 minutes, you can exercise. You can do squats. You can do leg lifts. Um, you can work out with weights. Um, I actually try to dance for 5 minutes every day. All of those things will help renew you. All of those things will keep you from getting to the point of, okay, I'm going. It's like driving a car and never putting gas in it. That's what happens with burnout. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes a while. You have to drive a long distance, but eventually your car will stop. And unfortunately, you will also. And this is something that I cover in my online dementia course that I can talk about later. But it is critical. And I will raise my hand right now and say that I am not good at self-care. I'm not going to lie. I'm not good at it because of all the things that other people think about. Oh, I don't have time. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to take this. But I found that when I would take 5 minutes a day to just meditate, it made a huge difference. It gave me a different perspective. And that's what you want. You know, it's like being in school and pulling an all nighter night after night after night after night after night. Initially, you're okay. You can recover. But eventually, your body starts telling you that it's not working. You cannot keep doing this. Just as if, I, I'm part of that age group now. I cannot party like a rock star anymore. I go out to a concert and I'm like, okay, get home and get into bed. I can do it before, and I've pulled plenty of all nighters in school, but I just can't do it anymore. And that's my body telling me, okay, you should be beyond that point. You should be taking better care of yourself. So, physical signs of burnout, frequent headaches is a big one, and muscle spasms. Typically, someone will get muscle spasms in certain parts of their body. Usually, it's the neck or in the shoulder blades or the back. You'll get more sick more often. You either gain or lose weight. So, you need to prevent burnout. Behavioral signs of burnout: withdrawing from friends, social activities, losing interest in things you used to enjoy, struggling to focus, turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Um, if this sounds to anyone like depression, guess what? That is a part of burnout. When you are finding yourself isolating because you cannot do what needs to be done and you're not able to access other resources, which is another thing that I cover in my dementia course, you get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm not myself anymore. And you have to realize that that's going to affect the care that you provide for your loved one. You want to provide good quality care for them. You don't want to be hanging by a thread and trying to take care of them and everything else and everybody else except yourself. So I talked about don't have time, 5 minute rule. Hey, 5 minutes is awesome. There is no such thing as a perfect time to relax. It doesn't exist. You can find 5 minutes. Well, multitasking is not a good thing, but you can listen to music while you're cooking. Um, Call a friend and chat for 10 minutes. And I mean, call, don't text, call them. Hearing another person's voice is very nurturing for your soul. It's very nurturing for you. It gives you a chance to have that connection that you might not otherwise have because you're too busy taking care of everybody else. You need that. There are plenty of guided breathing apps and calm apps and things online that are so easy. And even if you get the free version, it will help you. It's beneficial. So, one of the biggest mistakes caregivers make is believing they have to do everything because you don't. And you don't have to do it alone. Um, Doing it all doesn't make you a better caregiver, it makes you exhausted more. Not asking for help doesn't mean you're strong, it means you're struggling alone when you don't have to. And your loved one needs you to be present, patient, and emotionally available, not just physically there. You need to be present with them. And they will be able to tell, regardless of their level of dementia, they will be able to tell if you're not there, If you're really not there, if your mind is somewhere else on other things, they will know it. And that will cause problems between you and that person. So it may be that they start shutting down, they withdraw, they don't want to speak to anyone, they don't want to get involved in things because they're taking that from you. They're taking that cue from you, and you don't want that to happen. So, again, you want to be present. Okay. Here are some action steps for everyone. There won't be an official quiz, but if you've learned anything from this presentation, I hope you have. Write down one thing you've learned that changed your perception of dementia. Just one thing. When you're introducing safety devices, lights, locks, door alarms, do it subtly, do it slowly. You want to avoid making them feel like they're being controlled. You want to frame it as you're helping to support their independence. And thirdly, practice saying no to one non-essential task. That is the gist of my presentation. I want to let you know that I am available for a 60-minute get acquainted call. I have a YouTube channel that you can look at my dementia care conversations. And if you go to my website, you'll see all sorts of interesting information. But the main thing that you'll see that will really help you is my online course.